ending episode 33 right there. It's like a gut punch. Like, holy crap, I want to see what Ruby does with this whole lie thing. You know she's going to go crazy. I'm kind of envisioning that whole scene at the river where suddenly she had the dead eyes, the one that they put in the music video. She's going to do that whole face there. Is she going to look like that and say something? It's going to completely terrify like both Akane and Frill. And they're going to be like, oh my gosh, you should do the role, which is honestly very, very cheesy. But I'm all swept up in this moment going, holy crap, I want to see what happens next. And then I realize in my notes, what happened with the whole Crow Girl thing? I completely forgot that at some point in the middle of the episode, we just had Crow Girl just walk up to Aqua and say, what's up? You acting like star-crossed lovers. What are you doing there? Hee hee. And then it's like, that's it. Like, we're not even going to address that. We're just going to we're going to go this direction. We're going this direction. We're going to see how Frill is all about merit and completely disconnected from the usual society of, you know, the entertainment industry and how everybody's like super greedy. No, everybody in this show are super good people. It was like, why do we sidetrack from that? Why don't we go back there? I want to see what happened back there. What are we talking about back there? I think the last time we seen Crow Girl was in season 2. It wasn't that far back. Her confronting Ruby and completely just dropping that bombshell on her. But I'm curious what she's going to bring up to Aqua. And I think there is sort of I am curious what will happen in that conversation just because of the opening of the conversation. Literally pointing out this idea of him being some sort of star-crossed lover. Like he's some good person or something like that. I feel like there's going to be a little bit of a wake-up call, potentially. I don't know. I think Aqua right now is going down that dark end again. I think that's really going to be something that would just push him further. He's totally, like that whole end of the conversation with Bemcho. Right back to that whole I can't be happy thing, which infuriates me. It's like, Aqua, don't go back there. No, please don't go back there. No more of that stuff. I will admit the last time that he was in that mode, it was getting to the point where it was a little bit tired. So it is kind of scary to have him go back into it because I'm afraid I'm going to start not liking his character, but we'll see. But anyways, episode 33 of Oshinoko, decent episode. I think a majority of this episode I wasn't like a massive fan of. I think a lot of this stuff is informative about the, you know, the state of the entertainment industry when it comes to productions of films and movies and TV series and whatnot. Getting into the production committee. I think this is early part of this episode really is something I think a lot of anime fans will be familiar with. Maybe not know the full details of it, but this is a sense here. When you have something you want created, an anime or something like that, in this case going to be a movie, they have to get funding for it. Shocking, right? So they go to a producer like Kaburagi, and Kaburagi with his, you know, connections is going to try to find investors and whatnot to get involved with the project because yes, these things cost a lot of, as he puts it, 200 to 300 million yen. That's how expensive these movies are. So they got to get a lot of companies to want to pitch in a little bit. So nobody's, you know, afraid of like losing their entire investment. Everybody pitches in just a little bit in order to get this massive amount of money before eventually, yes, they can go forward and go, okay, distributors, we got to find somebody to actually distribute this. We got to find some high connections. It's kind of interesting to point out that Masaya Kubaragi is actually an independent individual, so he's not really tied into anybody specific. I'm curious if that'll end up being a benefit to the project itself. It does seem like it implies that because of his independence, he does have connection to a lot of different people, actors specifically. That's why we're able to get, as convenient as it is, having all these individuals that have been in the show so far, like Frill and, you know, Ruby, Kana, Akane. Everybody's getting involved with this project because he's got connections everywhere. He's done a lot of favors to individuals. I do think this earlier part right here is a cool little look into both Gotanda and Kaburagi in them as individuals in the industry. Again, pointing out the idea that Kaburagi is all about sort of the passions that he wants to get into, while at the same time always kind of putting up this front that it's all about money. These two things sort of go hand in hand. I think you can sort of have a desire for money, while at the same time having a desire for what you have passion for. It did seem like based on when Aqua presented it to Kaburagi, pointed out that this is going to be based off of the words of Ai herself and Ai's son. It did get him kind of sparked into it. Like, I gotta do this. Like, yes, this is super risky and everything like that, but I gotta do this. I gotta do this thing. But there's still a sense here where he wants to make money. In the end, he does have investors and whatnot that he has to pay back. I like how it keeps getting into the idea that he keeps asking about money. He's all about greed and all this kind of stuff. But there's a reality check here, right? I think there's a reality check here that Kaburagi knows more than anybody. I have connections for a reason. People come to me and I go to people and they communicate to me for a reason. Because I get them money back. If I didn't get them money back, nobody would talk to me. I wouldn't have these connections if I was always costing people money. So in the end, I had to follow through with this. In the end, I have to make all these people that invest in it, I have to get their money back. That's like the whole conversation later on when he's trying to get him to choose Ruby. Like, you don't realize that's great and everything, and it would be really cool if I could just say she sucks at acting, let's move on. It's making it complicated because she actually can act, but in the end of the day, Friel brings in the money, and my investors need that money back. At the end of the day, there's a balance between passion and actually making money. But yeah, getting into him is really interesting. Again, kind of emphasizing the idea that despite the fact that he gives this front that it's all about money, and how he sort of gives a feeling that everything's really easy for him to do, he's got a lot that he puts into stuff. This is a guy that actually works really hard, and you don't put that kind of effort in it unless you have a lot of passion for it. On the other side with Gotanda, yeah, it really kind of gets in the sense of that he does sort of have a desire for his works to get out there. There was an interesting little scene at some point in the episode where Kaburagi brings up, why do you think individuals still go to these production committees? Why do you think they still go to these big producers and whatnot? This is the age of individuals where you pick up your phone and you can make something cinematic and you just post it online. Everybody can see it. It gets all these eyeballs. It goes viral or whatever. Why would you keep going to these old people? Why would you keep going to the old industry? And it's honestly a good question mark. I think for fans of like anime in general, you have a sense here where we're all like online. We're watching everything online. We're not going to TV broadcasters and going, hey, can I get an episode of, Dragon Ball Z or an episode of Oshinoko or an episode of, Natsume's Book of Friends. We don't go to them for that. We go straight to a streaming service, whatever service you're using, and that gives it immediately to us. But yes, on a daily basis, we're just consuming media from people that are just uploading it straight to a social media site. Why would these individuals, if they want to get to the point of this story right here, the 15-year lie, if they wanted to get a lot of attention to it, why not just post it online? If that's Aqua's goal in the end, and not just Aqua's goal, again, keep in mind, this is Gotanda. Gotanda has decided this. Even later on, it talks about that when he confronts Ruby. He thinks in his head, I went through all these things and I came to the decision that I want to do this film. What's that purpose? He wants to get a lot of people's eyeballs on it. So the answer to his question of why don't you just, go online and do it there, his answer is that if you want to create a movement, you got to do it this way. I think that's sort of true when it comes to Japan, but I don't think it really is true anymore. I do think this is sort of a dated way of seeing things from Akazaka's perspective. I do think that a lot of producers still have this mindset, and you see that in a lot of interviews with different individuals. I covered one here recently. I think it was Ano. This idea that they still want to get people in the theaters. I think that sort of is true. There is a sense here where there is a psychological aspect to people that they believe that something is more significant and important as a message because it has a lot of people funding it. Because a big production committee, because a big label has put money behind something, that means it has more significance. Just like with a writer. Because Hayao Miyazaki has put his name on something, thus it's got to be good, right? Forget anybody else that could put their name on a film out of, say, Ghibli or something like that. Because his name's on there, it's more important. I think that's sort of the same concept they're getting into here. But I do like to see quite a bit of Gotanda's passion in what he works in and a desire for something that feels a little bit more authentic. It does seem like upon seeing Ruby and seeing how similar she looks to Ai, it does seem like it's pushing him more to the idea that I want to have Ruby do this because I think it's going to be more authentic. It's going to have that feel there. I almost thought that Kaburagi was going to say, hey, dude, you're kind of disgusting. I thought he was really going to push back and say, dude, you're kind of disgusting. You're going to have the daughter of the lady that we're going to portray as being murdered play the role of the mother. Really? Think? But it kind of just turned again. We're just trying to get eyeballs. We're trying to get Friel in here. She's going to bring in the eyeballs. We're going to stick to that. It's interesting stuff. Outside of Gotanda and Kaburagi, though, there's quite a bit in here. I guess we can jump into the whole scene with Aqua and Kana. Kana given this whole idea of like tarantulas or a meteor or something else. I forgot what it is. Oh yeah, being shot. And him wanting to be crushed to death because it'd be instantaneous. He'd die immediately. Oh, the tarantulas, you're idiot, Baka. But yeah, getting into how Aqua has a little bit of a name recognition now, and so she's going to have to start calling him Akun. Cute, get a little nickname in there. But yeah, this was the scene that we skipped last episode. I talked about this in my impression video last week, that they skipped the scene or this little segment of the scene where Kana finds out that Aqua and Akane have broke up. So it looks like they kind of took it right there and put it right here. They still didn't include the aspect of, him admitting to Kana the reason why they were doing what they were doing and, staying away from her, but it is what it is. But yeah, cute little moment here. Again, seeing Kana realize it seemingly that, hey, she got a chance again. She got a chance again, even though she kind of blew it right here and saying that we should be friends or whatever. Again, it opens that door to them being more, friendly with each other. It makes a lot more sense for it to be here. But anyways, yeah, outside of that, Memcho coming in. Memcho coming there. Just, Akun getting really close to each other. I love Memcho so much. But yeah, and right here, solidifying Aqua, being very open with people that, nothing's going to happen. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to handle this properly with Akane. I'm not doing anything with Akana. I've realized again that I'm not allowed to have fun. I'm not allowed to be happy. It sucks that Memcho doesn't really obviously doesn't understand what he means by this. So she's immediately like, oh yeah, you broke up, but it's okay. I mean, a lot of people feel that way when they break up. Doesn't even realize the extent of what he's talking about there. But I feel bad for Memcho at this point because she's always just kind of in the middle of everything. She has no full idea of what's happening, but she's always in the know and she's stuck in it. She doesn't seem like a busybody. I'm not saying that she's a busybody. It's just that she's always stuck in the situation. She keeps getting dragged into it somehow. She's secondhand damage to everything, and she's just trying to keep everything, trying to hold everything together. Can we stop fighting and separating? I feel bad for my girl. Other than that, we had a little scene with Ruby and Gotanda. I have to admit, I'm a little bit kind of frustrated with how they're handling the DVDs in this series. It really does give me a feeling right now where I of course, know the context of what Gotanda has. He has the documentary that was made by Ai. We have the 2 DVDs that was given to Ruby and Aqua. But right here, I get a feeling like I'm not in the know of something else. Because right here, we have Gotanda actually confront Ruby. This is the point in which, again, he gets inspired to have her play the role. But him confronting Ruby and at some point, again, seeing this side of her that obviously reminds him of Ai. And we have this little moment where, yeah, she's upset. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's right. You're avoiding Aqua because you had a little bit of falling out. Not really sure why. And she's like, yeah, he told everybody about Mom's lie. He told everybody the secret about Mom. And he's trying to obviously correct us, saying, no, wait, you don't know about the DVDs. And again, right here's where I'm like, wait, is he talking about the DVDs that, the documentary that he recorded? No, he's talking about the 2 DVDs that was given to Aqua and Ruby. And so where I'm going, okay, did I miss something? Because I feel like I'm in the out of something important here, because it feels like they keep bringing this up, but I don't remember something. Unless I'm not recalling something that was revealed at some point, I don't get what they keep bringing up here. Either way, yes, this is important because, yeah, he's seeing that, she's not in the know about what's going on. She doesn't know what's going on here. So he's thinking about how Aqua is like a total cis-con and trying to overly protect his sister, and he doesn't want to get her involved with everything. We all know it's the fact that he just wants to crash and burn by himself. He wants to carry this on his own, just like he did with Akane. Don't get involved with this thing. I'll take the burden for myself. Gotanda's seeing this. Gotanda's seeing this and obviously acknowledging it. It seems like he still wants to kind of nudge Ruby in the direction that, hey, I can't tell you exactly what's going on, but I can say at least, trust your brother. He's doing his best for you or whatever. But yeah, obviously, Ruby ain't having none of it. Ruby ain't having none of it. But interesting that she says, I don't really care what his reasons were. He made me realize I can't trust anyone. Everyone's a big liar. I have to admit, right here and the following scenes with her making little jokes and comments about Akane and it being awkward being in a room with her because they just broke up, I'm getting a little bit of whiplash when it comes to Ruby. And now I had the same experiences with Aqua now and then, but Aqua was always he was always very muted. He was always very neutral with his personality. He wasn't very bubbly and fun. I feel like I'm getting more whiplash with Ruby and how she handles the transition between bubbly nature, dead-eyed, super angry, I hate everybody, I don't trust anybody because they're liars, oh, but I'm going to trust you, I'm going to talk to you. I know that they're obviously kind of painting Ruby as being somebody that is very good at lying, and she's always lying left and right. Honestly, she's been pretty much lying her entire life. I get that there's a lot of lies in Ruby and how she acts, but I think because we've spent so long inside of Aqua's head, it's feeling like I don't get a full sense about who Ruby is, just because of how little time we spent inside of her head. And I think this episode kind of brought that to light for me. Not that I think the show's crap because of it. I just one of those things where it's starting to kind of nag at me a little bit. But yeah, the last little bit of the episode, of course, is Frill having the private audition with Akane and Ruby. This is one of those moments where it's yeah, I don't really necessarily see anybody doing this in the industry, but it's fine. It's a cool little segment here. But yes, at some point, Frill getting a message from somebody on the inside saying that, hey, the producers are fighting over who they're going to select for the lead role, but we all know you got it. She has a little feelers out there. Apparently some people that like her or some people that she's done drinks with that are keeping her informed on works, which is kind of interesting, seeing how resourceful, I guess, Frill is. But anyways, yes, she ends up confronting Ruby because it seems like she doesn't like the idea of being selected by just her role. She's all about the idea of being selected by merit. So it seems as if she wants to sort of test herself out with Ruby to see if she really does deserve the role. That's one of the sense I'm getting of. At some point, she said to Akane, when Akane is trying to address her, I get Ruby's a little bit out of the loop here, but what's your game here? Like, you have this role in the bag. Why would you even contact us about doing this? What is your gain here? And she said something to the effect that like 90% of it is because she just wants to feel like she's doing a good job, or like she's good for this job. That she's not picked by the fact that she'll just bring in eyeballs. That's what she wants. And it kind of, gives credit to what she was talking about earlier with Ruby. I do get the sense that Frill, for the most part, isn't somebody that is completely full of herself. As she put to Ruby the idea of like the fact that she doesn't do auditions. It makes sense, right? It's not that she's saying that she's too good for auditions. I don't go to places and ask for work. It makes sense because as she was becoming an actor, yes, before she had to go door to door to find roles. Nobody knew who she was. Then at some point she got popularity on her, and now people started coming to her. So her business model had to shift, right? Because she no longer had the time to really go out and audition. She had people coming to her and knocking on her door. She had to then shift to selecting who of these people I go with. So yeah, she doesn't do auditions anymore. It makes sense to what they were talking about earlier that yes, she's a shoo-in. Everybody wants her. She's only doing this role because something opened up, and now she can do the role. That's how busy she is. And either way, interesting character. I've never been like a massive fan of Frill, and it's mostly around the idea that her eyes... She looks like a lizard lady. It's like a weird lizard lady that has no emotion. Yeah, of course, I kind of expected that when she goes to act suddenly, oh, she has personality suddenly when she's acting. But she's very kind of just tonal blank. I just don't really care much for her. But anyways, yes, Akane eventually shows up to the little meeting. A little awkward moment between Ruby and Akane. What do I do? Again, this feels a little bit off because we've had so much like absolutely dead Ruby lately that suddenly she's being goofy. It always feels a little bit off because it's her internal dialogue. This is her real self. So it is a little bit jarring to see her being goofy suddenly. But yeah, eventually they start the audition here, and yes, Frill goes up there, does the big bad wolf story, has a little bit of comedic spin to it, before kind of presenting to Ruby to go next. I like how Akane's kind of pointing out here, yeah, usually Ruby would never be picked. Why is she even here? There's got to be something special about this particular movie. And yeah, of course, Frill can't divulge this information to anybody. She got the script, but nobody else is supposed to know. It kind of makes me believe that at some point, Akane's going to figure it out. Because Akane's like, why would Ruby be here? I know this whole situation going on right now with Ai and her story getting out there, but I don't think anybody knows about what movie they're doing. Nobody except for Frill knows what the movie is. So I think that eventually, potentially, Akane could click everything together, maybe by the fact that Aqua is going to be involved with this and that he was potentially involved with getting the story out there, that she's going to connect that there's a movie being made about Ai's story. But I'm not sure exactly how long it's going to take for Ruby to figure this out. But I do kind of respect Frill in making this about lies, because if this story is what it is, yes, it's going to be nothing but lies. They're going to have to be able to pull that off. Again, my prediction in the end is probably going to be Ruby doing the whole like super dead eye thing, and it's going to completely blow them away. I think it'll be a little bit corny if after that they all go, okay, well, we're not going to audition for it. We're going to turn it down because Ruby does better live face. It just, we'll see though. We'll see though. I did have thoughts early on that somebody, maybe Gotanda, was going to push it has to be Ruby as Ai. Even though I think, again, in the end, it's a really screwed up thing to have an actor do. Hey, can you play the role of this character in this movie and portray the murder, the brutal murder of your mother? I think that's happened in the past with a Western movie, but it feels icky. Like, in the end, it feels icky. I know in some cases people would view that as, I want to do this because either it's therapeutic or I want to get the message out there about what happened to my family member. I can see that being the case, and that could be what eventually Ruby gets into. I would hate the idea that she accepts this role without knowing that's the role that she's doing. But we'll see. Anyways, that's my thoughts on the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below. If you like this content and you want to support the channel more, become a member. Until next time, you'll take care.